Howdy folks, how's it going? I'm out here in the garage and I'm just about to throw together the last, let's say, concoction for the Steveadulla Stout that I've been playing around with. Obviously, a video was done a while back on brew day, discussed a little bit what was going on. But this is the follow up from the brew I did down with Steveadulla just before New Year. And then I come home and did a revised version of that recipe, and I've been playing around with it. So this is just to go through and actually get on video before we do a tasting, exactly what I've done with the free versions that I'm playing around with. So before we get into that, shout out to the Patrons. I said Steve's one of the Patrons, and it's part of what led me to getting down there and having the brew day. If you're interested in Patreon, jump on the link down there below and have a look. Might be just your thing. If not, hit the subscribe button. If you're not subscribed to the channel already, hit the subscribe button down there in the corner, and give me a thumbs up as well as you're going. That all helps out. Link up there in the corner to the brew day, and I commented a bit there about what I was going to do, and things have changed just a little bit as we've gone through, and I'll explain that as I'm sort of travelling here. So original brew I think was 22 litres, and I was going to split it. Initially the thought, I think, was just to do it two ways, was to do some barrel aged and to do something with the other half, which I was thinking I was just going to leave it plain. But as things often happen with Little John, something's popped up and a thought pops in my head, and then suddenly we're going in a bit of a different direction. So one of the first things that popped up was I put up a post a while back of I've made some scones, and I posted a picture of scones up on Facebook. And we made the flies back again. Jeez. And there was a few comments made about it being a potential beer flavour, and I sort of had a bit of laugh about it being a scone stout. But sort of pretty much laughed it off. But from that I started thinking about similar sort of things, and it got me thinking about a brew that had its 5 barrels down there in Wollongong a while back when I was on a brew crawl down there, and that was an imperial milk stout, raspberry imperial milk stout, or pastry stout I actually was. But so it got me thinking, so what I was looking to do was do some raspberries with some lactose and some vanilla to get a similar sort of thing. Now, it's not imperial, but I was looking to get that same sort of underlying flavour, some sweetness with some lactose, and that supposed pastry flavour you get from the vanilla. But when I went to the local Woolies to get raspberries, I couldn't get any. There was none. There was no fresh raspberries. There was no frozen raspberries. So I really wanted to get off last Friday. I was going away and I sort of was pushed a little bit. So I just grabbed 2 bags of frozen strawberries, threw them into the fermented King Junior with 150 grams of lactose and about 10 mils of a good quality vanilla extract, and then transferred onto that. 9 litres of the stout onto that. So it's been sitting for a week. I'm going to let it sit for another week before I look at getting it bottled up. And I'm probably expecting only to lose about 3 litres, maybe 2 litres. At least 2 litres. Wouldn't surprise if it's 3, allowing for the fruit and whatnot. So hopefully get about 6 litres out of that. So I'm pretty pleased well, hopefully that's going to be turned out alright. I said hopefully the strawberries go okay. Never seen strawberries in a stout, so we'll have to wait and see. 2 days ago I bottled up 6 bottles, 6 750ml bottles, just Cooper's PET bottles. Now what I did with those, and this again, this is what I'm talking about, how things just pop into my head as I'm going through my day to day. And some of you may have seen a post on the weekend where I was drinking this stuff. It's cold brewed coffee, hard cold brewed coffee. I saw this 4-pack of this stuff at the BWS. I was in Wollongong. I was getting some sort of bloody thing for the daughter, and spritzers, and I spotted these, and they were half price. So I just grabbed a can. Just thought, cold brew coffee, give it a whirl, see what it's like. I wouldn't say it was pretty terrible, but I mixed it up with some milk and a spoon or two of sugar, and made myself a nice coffee, and it wasn't too bad. So while I'm sitting there drinking, but I'm drinking and thinking, that's probably not a bad way to bloody put some coffee into a stout. So bang, that's where I ended up the other day, this stuff. So what I did was I mixed up a mix of priming sugar, which was 50% dextrose, 30% light dry malt, and 20% lactose. And then measured that into scoops into each bottle for the priming. So I used a large scoop, the standard scoop for the long neck. So it's going to be a sort of mid-ish sort of carbonation. It's not going to be a full carbonation because we've got the non-fermentable lactose and then the lesser fermentability of the light dry malt. So I'm hoping that's going to keep the body fairly similar to what was there, not play around too much. But the lactose will just add just a little bit of sweetness. And then to each bottle, I added 40 millilitres of this stuff. And that's why I did the 6 bottles, because this is a 150ml can. I've still got 2 cans of it. But I do want to play around with these and actually make some real good bloody iced coffees perhaps. And I worked out, just going off rough numbers, that about 35 millilitres was probably going to be the right amount I thought to get a decent coffee sort of hit into the brew. So working that out, then I was going to get 6. In the end it ended up being 40 mils each. So it's about 5% total volume, a bit under 5% total volume. It's going to be the hard coffee. So going to see how they're going to go. I'm actually going to put 2 of those bottles into the Milton Show. They're going to be young. I'm not sure. I'm not completely sure on that. It's still, that was the original thought. I'm going to do that. And I'll explain in just a minute where that thought is coming from. But what I'm doing now is what's left of that brew. So there was about 3 litres of beer into those 6 bottles. So it leaves me at the moment with about 9 litres in the fermenter, which I can probably quite safely get 7 litres out of, maybe a fraction more. I wanted to barrel age that, but the plan was the plan was to put 5 litres into one of my oak bourbon barrels. Now, I sort of wasn't really thinking that the bourbon barrel's been sitting there empty for about $9. It just wasn't thinking that, it's going to have dried out. It's not going to seal. So crazy, silly me, got all set up, bang, started dumping stout into the barrel. And it just started running straight through the bottom of it onto the floor. So that wasn't going to work. Lost about, probably only lost a stubby. I didn't lose a lot. But it did take a little while to fully click that, hang on, what the fuck's going on here? And again to get it stopped and whatnot. So I was just going to throw out the barrel aging idea, but I've gone back to what the original idea was. The original idea was just to oak it. But what put me off that was because I had the barrel, I wanted to actually do a proper barrel age. It wasn't going to be a long one. I wasn't intending to put in the barrel for months or anything, any extent. It was just going to be a short stint in the barrel, just to see what effect it had and to see whether I could do it safely without ruining the beer. So it would have been something that could have been done for an aging process on a bigger beer, maybe on an imperial, and that's probably still going to happen down the track. But so what the thinking changed to was, I've got a whack of oak here, which up until late last year, most of this actually was sitting in bourbon. It was aging and conditioning bourbon of different kinds. So I've got a variety of these oak chunks. Now this just reeks of bourbon. These jars have been sealed since they've gone in here, so they're actually still, moist. So there's varying kinds of chunks here, and there's varying toast levels on these chunks. There's different kinds. There's even these big fellas, which are these are actual Jack Daniel's barrel chunks. They're taken directly from a barrel where it's been just chopped up. I used these on a bourbon a while back, which was absolutely sublime. So this is what I'm going to play around with. So I'm going to stick this stuff just straight into the keg, and I'm going to let this sit for probably 2 weeks. Because they're smaller bits, the oaking is going to happen reasonably quickly. So I've taken the dip tube out of this keg and I've replaced it with a shorter one, which was originally done when I did the fruited seltzer. So it sits about yay far from the bottom of the keg. So there's some losses about to occur here, but I'm willing to wear that for experimenting. So the other issue I've got with doing this, I can transfer without oxygen, that's not a problem. But this oak it's all done an amount of drying, and my big concern is there's going to be oxygen trapped in this timber. So if I transfer straight onto this, I'm going to get oxygen in the beer. So I need to counteract that. So what I've done is I've boiled up, started with about 2 litres of water. This has got some Dex and some malt in it. It's a slightly lower gravity than what the actual stout is, not a huge amount. This is boiled. I boiled it twice. I boiled it yesterday and cooled it, then didn't get around to do this yesterday. So I've boiled it again today. So I've lost even more volume, but I've got probably about 1.2 litres here. So I'm going to put this into the keg. Now, while we chat, I'm going to start just throwing some chunks in here. Now, what I'm looking for, there's different chunks here. These are, I've got a whole variety of different ones. There's different toast levels, and so these are going to add some nice char and some bourbon character to this stout. But what I'm looking for this malt to do is to restart fermentation. Get in there with the yeast that's already in the brew and re-ferment, and as a result, I'm hoping So I said some of these chunks have dried out. They won't actually come out of out of the jar now because they've dried and they've swollen. So this will kick off a fermentation, and that process should scrub out any oxygen that gets brought into the spout from this oak. That's the theory. And it was one of the issues I was having with going to the barrel, because I had fermented an amount under pressure and there was CO2. I was worried how that was going to go in the barrel. So I've avoided that problem, but let's get 2 more of those in there. Okay, I think that's plenty. That's going to get me absolutely heaps of oak flavour, heaps of bourbon flavour, which by my calculation should give me a bourbon barrel type finish to this beer. So I'm going to go and transfer this shortly. You don't necessarily need to see that. That's pretty uneventful, so I won't show you that. But as I said, I'm going to swap these beers with Steve. Now, turned out that after we organised all this, that the Milton show is in Ulladulla, Milton, Ulladulla, same place. Milton show is on the first weekend of March. And he sent me some information about it just before I come back from holidays. And it turns out that we're actually going to be down the coast that weekend. So I said to the missus, I said, you're keen to go to Milton show on the Saturday? Because they do the judging for the show on Friday, then Saturday they have they actually have tastings. They had open tasting on the home brew competition. So if we could go down and have a bit of a gawk at that, catch up with Steve, and can swap some beers at the same time. So that gives me now 3 weeks to get all these beers finished and into bottles. So as I said, the raspberry pastry stout version will be in bottles next Friday, next weekend. This one is going to sit for 2 weeks, so 2 weeks from now it will be bottled up. So both of these, they're all going to be bottle primed and carbonated, old school. So this and the raspberry are not going to be ready, the strawberry, are not going to be ready for drinking anywhere near that much. They're going to take a little bit longer. Which works out fine. So I'll take these down. I'll do a swap with Steve. I'll get his. I think he's done 2 versions of his. I think he split it with 2 different yeasts, I think was the end result. So what we should end up with is from a split sort of 2 brewed, we should have 5 different stouts to play around with, to do some tastings on. So I'll do some tastings, Steve's going to do some tastings, we'll get some video of both, or piece them together, or we'll do 2 individual videos on, there'll be one on here, there'll be one on Steve's channel, and we'll be able to have a look at how they all compare and see what we come up with. So yeah, that's it. So right now, yeah, quite experimental with how I'm going with all three of these brews at the end of the day. Nothing's overly straightforward. So I'm not going to find out what the actual base stout is like. Actually, no. What I will do is I will actually bottle. I will bottle one bottle, probably one lot. Yeah, take a bottle or two off this now. Yeah, no, I won't. Too much fucking around. Can't be bothered. It means getting out the fucking bottle and gun. And yeah, I was trying to avoid getting the bottle and gun out. Nah, it's all good. We won't find out what the base of this one's like. We'll just have to bloody just wonder how it finished. Yeah, no, can't. No, I've got to get it. I've got to. Okay, looks like I'm cleaning 2 stubbies. I'm going to take 2 stubbies off with the beer gun before I fill this keg and move on. So that's where she is. Long-winded, yeah. Sorry guys, we probably wanted this to be a little bit quicker, but it's a fair bit of clearing up to do. But I want this clear, so when I'm doing the tasting, I haven't got to go through it all again. It will be easier to refer back to this when I'm doing tasting videos. So guys, if you got any comments or any questions on this process or anything, stick them down the bottom. Again, I said thank you to subscribers, Patreons, people who just hit the like, or anyone just watching the channel. So till I see you again, we're brewing beer, drinking beer, talking beer. So they're the things we do. Good brewing.